Welcome to Tech for Founders podcast. I'm your host, Pinita, and today we have a game-changing guest joining us, Jeff Swartz. He is an advertising entrepreneur revolutionizing the industry with Ethic Advertising Agency and Kujam. From starting in a small duplex to leading a stellar team, Jeff empowers small businesses with technology-driven advertising solutions. Explore his vision for changing the advertising landscape, avoiding common pitfalls, and empowering fellow entrepreneurs. So, Jeff, as the founder of Ethic Advertising Agency and the creator of Kujam, you have a unique perspective on the intersection of advertising, entrepreneurship, and technology. Can you share with us the story behind launching these ventures and your vision for changing the advertising landscape?
Yeah, they're really cute, and thanks for having me on as well too, Benita. They started at two different times in my life, right? So, Ethic Advertising Agency is coming up on 9 years next month, actually, that we've been around. That started in the corner of my duplex and just kind of that scrappy kind of venture and everything. Where the QJam side of things, which is an Ethic product, is tech based versus service based. It's something that we started working on about a year and a half ago, and actually having a lot more capital, a lot more resources, and everything as well too. So the Ethic advertising side of things was developed because it was a dream that I had since I was in college. And then the QJam thing was actually started because I feel like I identified a gap in the market as it pertains to geofence advertising, and decided to try to fill that gap myself, which was one of the aha moments that I have of someone should do this. And then I realized, wait, I might be one of the better people to do this. And it's been a fun little journey for the last 2 months that we've been launched and seeing it actually work and come to fruition.
That's an excellent story. I think you're definitely the one to build it because I think the person who identified the problem, and I think like your whole experience with having your own agency and getting to know your customers made you really see what the gap in the market was. And I think it's great.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where we do have our ad agency side of things, but programmatic digital advertising, which extends into the geofencing space, is something that we just kind of fell into being experts at, and there's really no other way to put it. And something that we've leaned on and accepted. So we were, tried to be thought leaders and research and go above and beyond with those with that particular technology, and ended up, being the backend provider for websites like geoconquesting.com, geofencing.com. So we ended up having over the years hundreds of conversations with businesses that Ethic Advertising's services weren't right for, because Ethic Advertising has minimums. We have different parameters of who the right client is, and most of our conversations were with one person marketing firms. They were with small businesses. They were with people that can't meet the minimums, or they just wanted to do it themselves. And I've always been a believer of, if we're not the right fit, that's okay, but we should direct them to the right selection. And there is some other good resources for that technology, but nothing that kind of opens the door, is kind of how we refer to it, to what a lot of these people are looking for, which are self-serve platforms, no minimums, not getting raked through the coals on cost per thousand, or what the rate basically is, having access to the data in real time as well too. And then the other big one is accepting credit cards and having it built on good technology as well too. So there wasn't anything out there that we felt that did all of those things. So that's where we developed it. And really, we developed the portal to build on top of technology that's already existing. We're not re-engineering the tech. We're just making it accessible to those small businesses or small ad agencies, or even small departments at bigger companies.
I see. So it was more like, rather than creating a new technology, but just having the technology that your users need and putting that into one platform.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really kind of focused on accessibility and ease, and everything. A really good parallel that I like to make is you could run ads on Facebook, and then they created boosted posts, right? Where it all of a sudden became this thing that was like so simple that anybody could do it. That's the endeavor with the tech that we developed with QJam.
Uh, yeah, definitely. I think accessibility is so important and making it as easy as possible for users. So, Ethic Advertising Agency focuses on leveraging hyper-targeted digital advertising to connect clients with the right audience. How do you ensure that businesses reach their target market effectively in the era of information overload?
Yeah, I mean, I love that you added that last bit, because there is honestly too much information out there that can be paralyzing, right? But it's good to look at a lot of different data points and a lot of different information, and to think outside of the traditional advertising marketer perspective. There are things that can kind of mirror the truth or like hide the truth. I believe, and I always say, look at multiple different data points and tell the story. So whenever we're trying to figure out, how are we going to run a campaign, how are we going to develop these things, what creative we're going to put for that, there's a 5-step process that we have to try to make sure that we're engineering success as often as we can. There is also an element of not just looking at the data that we get as advertisers, but also asking, well, what are your goals? What are your hurdles, Mr. and Mrs. Client? What resources and information do you have on your end as well too? Because there are often times where the ad data, the front end data, maybe look successful or not successful. But if let's say the front end data for advertising does look successful, but the client doesn't give you any feedback on what they have going on, and maybe it's not that successful. Because one of the things that advertising is actually really good at is, if you do good advertising, you get good opportunities, right? But what you do with those opportunities are deeper in the marketing and sales funnel. So sometimes good advertising can actually shed light on other areas deeper in that marketing or sales funnel, to be able to say, hey, like, the advertising maybe is working, but we have a break in our sales process, or identify a gap, deeper in the customer service chain or something like that as well too. And then advertising also, if it doesn't work, then you start at square one and you have to fix that as well.
Definitely. I like how you talked about how good advertising affects other layers in the sales funnel, because I think because advertising is the kind of the front end, right? So it brings people in, and then you go into marketing, etc. And I think if advertising doesn't work, it will be a huge issue. And if like sometimes like you learn different aspects about marketing from the advertising section as well.
Yeah, and the story that I like to share on that topic is one that I learned early in the agency's career, where we had a client who was in the home improvement space, that said, hey, like, we're not getting as many leads as we would like. I kind of want to increase our ad spend. And for a long time, I knew what the problem was. I knew it wasn't the advertising. So what we ended up doing is we tracked phone calls for 90 days. And then we listened to all of them as well too, and went a little bit above and beyond, well, a lot above and beyond for this particular client, to be able to let them see where their gap was. Because their gap was that they weren't picking up the phone, or they were having an answering service that wasn't good, not pick, get on the phone and then not be able to kind of close them. And in the home improvement space, the likelihood that somebody is going to convert if you do not pick up the phone the first time reduces by about 70%. So, for us, it was saying like, hey, look, we have all these qualified leads. There's a break when they call of you guys either not answering, or the person who is answering not doing the best of their job, of their ability. So coupled with the advertising that we were doing, and they made some changes on their end, they actually saw revenue increase about 30% by that combination of those two things and everything. So that's like one of my favorite stories to kind of explain what, kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, I really like that, because I think the fact that you went above and beyond and tracked all of the phone calls really helps you identify where the problem is and be able to solve it a lot easier.
Yeah, and that was also earlier on in the agency as well too, where I was trying to be all things to all people, right? So it started as a one-person agency. We're still boutique. We're 15 right now, individuals, and then but one of the things that we did is we niched our services down to more focused on hyper targeted digital paid advertising and the creative that goes with it. So that doesn't mean that just because we narrowed our focus into what we're really good at, it doesn't mean that we don't have those conversations still as well too, to where we'll say like, hey, did you think of looking at this, or you should maybe track this and everything. So it's always something that I've enjoyed preaching even before I launched the agency, because the truth of the matter is a lot of people that are shelling out the money for ad campaigns are expecting revenue, as they should. But the reality of it is that an advertising campaign is really not the thing that's going to sell somebody. It's going to be the thing that gives you the opportunity to sell somebody. Your website, your salesperson, your store, whatever it might be. The next step is really kind of what helps them convert from a prospect into an actual sale.
Definitely. I think the conversion part is very important. So Kujam, your latest venture, is a self-serve geofence advertising platform designed for small businesses and teams. How does Kujam empower these entities to reach their audience in a way that was previously unavailable to them?
Yeah, I think a good place to start is to kind of explain what geofencing means to this platform, because there's actually that term's actually used for like security purposes. It's used for like HR, like time tracking and everything. But for what we refer to it as is using GPS, so satellite information and GPS data to identify that somebody has been at a very specific location. The accuracy can be within like 16 feet, and there's different variables as to how that can play into that. But you're talking about geofencing your competitor's building, geofencing areas around your location, geofencing other areas that indicate that your target audience is there, and everything. And then we can serve them ads, either banner ads or OTT, which are like Sling TV, Roku, Pluto TV, like any of those, like streaming your favorite TV show or movie and see a commercial. That's what that is. Or video pre-roll ads, which is like you go to your local news site and you see an ad before the clip that you want to watch. So it's like more internet based ads, but it's a commercial that's in there. So we can serve these ads to these individuals that have been in a specific place for the next 30 days. And everything. So that's what this technology really does for these individuals. What was happening and what continues to happen is that technology wasn't really accessible to people that have smaller budgets or just want to test it out and everything. For us to be on the platform that we have to maintain, I think, like $10,000 or $20,000 of ad spend every month on average to get that access to like the whole demand side platform that we're using, that QJam is built on. So what the QJam side of things does is allows them to get a small portion of the technology that we have to be able to target these individuals who have been a specific location with these ads and try to do it in a way where people can go on there and understand. We've created content and information to help people understand how to leverage it and use it. And that's going to be part of what we continue to do with this technology as well, too. So we give them the resources so they can actually test it out, try it and everything without being, taken, not necessarily taken advantage of, but the people who do take, a $300 a month budget, rightfully so, have to have excessively high margins because they have human beings on the back end entering the orders, optimizing them, communicating with the client and everything. Because we use technology to automate that and put that control in the advertiser's hands, our costs are actually way down on an ongoing basis. Now, to develop it is a different story, but now that it's developed, it's just about making it better and everything. But it puts it in their control so they can actually, do it themselves, which means that we're not going to have our margins be 300-400% on it, which means that less of their dollars are spent on actually ad distribution. So they'll get a lot more ads distributed to the public.
I see. So the technology you've built pretty much makes the kind of advertising technology that are usually accessible to larger companies accessible to smaller companies, and also the fact that it's easy to use and you don't need to spend time having to explain to them after they've already started using technology. So that reduces the cost as well. So that is very useful for small businesses.
Yeah, but this is really like, so like I mentioned earlier as well too, we've been at it for a year and a half. We've been deployed live for 2 months and everything. So we're also in this really kind of cool period where we want to talk with the people that are using it and discuss how it's going and everything. So although that we, we're not increasing our margins to do that and everything because it's excessively valuable for someone to do that, but we have it to a point where we have people that are jumping on there and using it without having to communicate with us at all already. And then we have people that jump on there where they're like, hey, I got tripped up at this point or and everything. And then we'll get on the phone, we'll do a demo with them right now. But the endeavor is to give all the resources and the tools and develop this information and make the system as simple as possible as well too, so that anybody can do it without having to contact a human, because in this day and age, nobody really wants to talk to somebody. They just want to be able to do what they want to do, especially if they're in just curiosity and playing mode. Because as soon as somebody jumps on the phone with us and everything, we know that there is an element of them being like, are they just trying to sell me and I just want to see what's going on? So by removing that element and everything as an option of having like a human be on our side of things, be involved, allows them to kind of have the freedom to kind of play around with it and do what they need. However, we do want to be accessible, especially right now, to the people who are like, they do have questions, they do want to talk to a human, they do want to do it on their own, but they want to figure out how to leverage it really well. And as we move on, we are going to probably develop that with customer service base, and having that human component always be an option, but also the focus is to make sure that this technology is accessible to those individuals without that ever needing to be the case, and people can just easily understand it and jump on there.
Definitely, because I think what you said about not having a human needing to guide you through the process, but also having them in case you want to talk to them. I think it's like the kind of the balance you have to make as a tech company, because you at one point you want user experience to be better, so you want the feedback, and on the other you want them to be able to intuitively get your software.
Yeah, and it's different for every individual as well too. I mean, you could develop the easiest, simplest, to use software that's out there, and you will still come across somebody who's like, I don't really get this. I don't understand it. It could, I mean, we run into that all the time and everything, especially with people that are a little bit older or they never had a role where they needed to do something and stuff of like, we're on a Zoom call right now. That is a perfect example, especially at the start of COVID. People are like, I don't know how to use this. What do I do? And everything and stuff. What might be simple to someone might be a real hurdle for another person as well too. So that's where we want to have that balance. So it's almost like choose your own adventure for the user of, if you want to talk to us, great, we'll figure out a way to make that accessible. If you don't want to talk to us, also great. We want to make that as easy so you have as much success without needing to speak to a human as possible as well too.
Definitely, it's an important balance. So from starting an agency in your small complex to now leading a stellar team, how has your role evolved, and what steps have you taken to create a positive company culture at Ethic Advertising Agency and Kujang?
Yeah, so culture is actually like one of my favorite things to talk about. It's that coupled with long-term vision planning and scalability is where, I kind of had that realization of what I needed to focus on. And it's what allowed us to kind of grow by leaps and bounds in our later years versus early on and everything. So, and also, as you create more revenue, it's easier to create revenue off of that as well too. So my role has evolved from me being one person that's doing everything to, you work with freelancers and then you start bringing on employees and everything, to where a 15-person agency doing everything that we do as well too. We do, I'm very proud to say we have people who have one role and that's all that they do. But we still have people that wear a couple of multiple hats, me more than most. However, having a good culture and having a good interview process to identify the people that mesh with our core values and that are a good asset and a good resource for us to work efficiently and continue to produce quality work for our customers is paramount in me being able to get more and more involved into the role of leading the company as well too. And I'm happy to say that I do that more than ever. I'm still involved in some strategy things, or I get pulled in on stuff because just because I have a knowledge base and I believe in teaching what I know to my team as well too, and vice versa. Because I do have talented people on the teams as well too that I love learning from. But my role has really evolved from being a advertiser and working on other people's business to switching to focus on working on my business and focusing on making sure that if I have this vision of what I want the company to be, that we can get there. And that's my main objective right now, which I believe the way to do that is to have people that are enjoying what they're doing, that have the resources and the time and the energy to do what they need to do at a high level and everything. And that's always what I'm kind of focused on, which means that I'm always working for my team versus my team working for me. That's just always the mentality that I've had as I developed it. And it's allowed us to go from these small incremental gradual increases in revenue for probably like the first 3 or 4 years to, last year doubling our revenue. And this year adding another 30 some odd 40% to our revenue as well too, and everything. And that's all part to having a good culture and a good team.
Definitely. So you started as one person and you moved to freelancers and having full-time employees, but you still get involved in the team process because you believe that you have a lot to learn from your team as well, but you also have to be focused on the vision of the company to ensure that there is clear leadership for the company as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also gradually shifting to where, the day-to-day stuff I am becoming less and less involved in. And that's the goal. And I think that's excessively important for small businesses to get to. Now I'm a realist, so I know that I still get sucked into the day-to-day things and I'm a part of that because there's value to be added there and everything. But really I'm more valuable to the company if I'm focusing on the CEO type stuff. And everything, and allowing my team to be empowered to do what needs to be done at a high level, and ensuring that what they're doing is good. So although that there is some involvement and everything, it's less than it's ever been in time, and it continues to be less and less as I continue to shed off some of my more advertiser marketer responsibilities and everything to the team and everything. And it's been really liberating to see how that has been successful, and also not have the feeling like I need to be in control of this every little detail and everything. You put the right people in place, you put the right processes in place as well too. We developed a over 100-page manual. We have training videos. We have all these assets as well too to help out the team understand how to do things as well. And it's a lot of information. It's so when we have somebody new come on, there's a long training process, a long onboarding process, and we try to make expectations really kind of clear. But yeah, my goal is to get completely out of the day-to-day operations so I can focus on the role that's really most beneficial to my people and my company and my customers as well too. But it's not just me waking up one day saying, it's all you guys, here you go, and everything. It's a gradual process that I've been working on for probably 3 years, and seeing it come to fruition over time has been good. And I'm excited for the next probably 1 to 2 years where it's really going to get solidified.
That's excellent, because I think over time, as you remove yourself from the day-to-day process and your team becomes more empowered and you have very clear structures in process, I'm sure it will continue to grow.
Yeah, and I don't need to be the driver of all the processes as well too. There's things that I don't really fully understand from a process standpoint that's done on a day-to-day basis, because there's no way that one person could. And everything, but they were developed by my team members. They're utilized, implemented by my team members and everything. So I have a general understanding, but if they said, hey, can you come in and do a deep dive audit and everything, I'd have a learning curve as to how to do it and everything. So it's also a collaboration of that process and a desire for us to always try to progress ourselves to do better and evolve what we have going on, especially as we grow. 1 person to 3 people to 5 people up to 15 people, those all look different. just as I know once we get to 20, 25, 30 people and everything, those processes will also look a little bit different as well too. But as long as our culture and our core values and the essence of what we do maintains the same, then we'll be in good shape. But we do have to evolve how we do things.
Definitely. So evolving how you do things, but keeping culture the same. So as an entrepreneur, what challenges did you face in building your agency from the ground up, and what valuable lessons did you learn along the way?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of lessons and a lot of bumps and bruises along the way of any entrepreneur's journey. The two I'd like to touch on, and I take it from a perspective of if someone is thinking of starting their business or just started and everything, and it doesn't matter what industry they're in, if it's tech, if it's ad agency, if it's a ice cream shop, whatever it might be. Some of the best things that took me a little bit to figure out is you don't have to be the one that makes the mistakes. You can find mentors, you can find people that are willing to help you, you can find entrepreneurial groups as well too. You can read, you can listen to audiobooks, you can listen to podcasts like this. Use the experience of others to learn from will greatly advance where you're at, so you don't have to relearn it all and reinvent the wheel. So I think that's a big one. And then the other one is all about risk. So entrepreneurs are historically, seen as risk takers and everything, but there's different levels of risk and there's different levels of reward. So there's a comfort level that you have to kind of achieve with risk, especially as you go from, if you go from one person to, thousands of people and anything in there, then you have more responsibilities and stuff, which makes it feel like the riskier moves are a little bit more dangerous. But it's also very, very risky to not occasionally take risk, because then you become stagnant or you don't change, and then you kind of end up in a situation that's worse than if you actually took a leap. So being comfortable with risk is good. Learning from others is really good as well too. But those are two of the things that learning from others took me a while to accept, because I always thought that I had to pick a mentor that I wanted to be like, and it's a wrong way of thinking about things. The reality of it is that I could pick multiple inspiration and multiple mentors, and just different things. I don't have to pick one person that I want to be. I can take the best and the worst of everybody and learn from those things and everything. So learning from people as a massive group is actually a really healthy way to do it, versus like, well, who's the one mentor that I just want to emulate and everything? That just didn't resonate with me, didn't work with me. And that's why it took me so long to join an entrepreneurship group, to listen and really kind of think about it, because I was always like, you're not in the advertising world, you don't understand, or you started with a partner, or what. I was always an excuse of like why something was like, not quite right for me, to try to emulate this person or learn from that person early on. But after a couple of years, when I realized, I can learn lessons from anybody and everybody, from an intern all the way up to a very experienced, retired CEO level individual, there's always something to learn and something to grasp from somebody else, and everything. So mentors doesn't have to be one person, it can be multiple people.
Definitely. I really like what you said about how mentors don't need to be one person, because I think many entrepreneurs who don't go into entrepreneurship, they make the mistake of looking at one person and they're like, hey, I don't have this specific experience in my CV, so I'm probably not meant to be an entrepreneur because this person has everything there. But if you're looking at many different people and learning from everyone, you realize how there are many ways to get into entrepreneurship, and you can learn something from everyone.
Yeah, and you don't have to learn from their successes. You're probably going to learn more from their mistakes and their failures. And there's going to be more of those out there as well too. Like the companies that exist aren't the ones that don't make mistakes. The companies that exist are the ones that make mistakes and learn from them and grow and keep going forward, and everything. So it's one of those things as well too, where the mentorship thing I think goes really hand in hand with the risk, side of things as well too. So learning from other people's mistakes will actually minimize your risk, because you kind of see like, oh, this is what happened for them. I can kind of apply that because I was thinking of doing that, but hearing their experience and then this other person's experience and this person's experience, it makes me realize that's maybe not the right path, and I can choose something a little bit different.
Definitely. I think apart from learning from your own mistakes, learning from other people's mistakes is way better. So we are wrapping up for today. Thank you so much for all of your insights.
Yeah, thanks, Benita.